All right, guys, we are back, and we brought our buddy John with today. Actually, we're at John's house, and we're excited because the snake is ready to be skinned out today. And before we get started, I just want to say thank you guys for all the support recently. We've been blown away by the support that we've gotten with our first 2 snake videos. John really kind of took over the last one, and you know, he's just meant to be behind the camera. But no, today we're at John's house. He took care of the snake, and he's going to talk a lot today about every process that goes into this now. He's the expert, we're new, so we want to bring our expert with us and share that with you. So again, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy this video.
All right, so I am by no means an expert. I feel like there's people out there that know more about this than I do. So in order to dispatch this snake, probably the safest way to do it, it's not the fastest way to do it, is take the pillowcase that you had seen in the prior video. If you haven't seen the previous video, you got to check it out, where we went out there and got Brett his first rattlesnake. It was a blast, and I'm sure their legs are still a little bit sore from it. But in either case, the safest way to do it is to take that pillowcase that we had put the snake in, and you're going to just drop that into a deep freezer or a freezer of some type and leave it there for 3 days. Snake will be dispatched at that time. Get it out. I left this one out for maybe an hour beforehand just to get it to thaw out to the point where we can work with it. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be skinning this snake. We're going to be defleshing the snake, and then, or scraping the hide, and then we're going to go into how to actually tan the hide to make this into a material that lasts forever, so long as you take care of it. I've done this before and with fantastic results. So this is one that I had done previously. This was a 55-inch yellow that I had done previously. There's no way to feel a snake hide through a video, but the best way I can describe this is if linen met leather. It's incredibly soft. You can ball it up. It comes right back. Everything on this is the way I wanted it to come out, except for some damage that my boys had ever so politely put into it. Other than that, but this one did not have the head on. In the future, I'll do it with the head on, but this one, I wanted to make sure that I had that snake good and dead. It was my first snake. I was still learning at that point, so this was a doozy of a snake to learn on, and it came out really well. So we're gonna just repeat that process here. First things first, we have a snake that's dispatched. We're gonna go over equipment real quick. So as far as it goes for equipment, so we got a pair of scissors. We have a knife that I'm going to be using for scraping. I like the flatter blades more than anything else. This is actually a Kaiser mini sheepdog, if anybody or anyone on here is a knife aficionado. I have a plastic scraper. A credit card would work. However, you're going to want to put that back in your wallet, and that's probably not something you're going to do after you've scraped a snake hide with it. There's a lot of oils, there's a lot of fats, and this stays in the shed outside of my home while it's not being used for obvious reasons. I also brought a wood clamp, just because sometimes you need to move the snake around and move the skin around, but a lot of times you don't want it to move around. So any type of clamp will work. This is a locking clamp. Other than that, I have a multi-tool, just because the blade on here has a really nice scraper. It has a serrated one on there as well, which works quite well. And then if there's anything I need to pull out, specifically up near the head area where things get really sharp and they're covered in venom, I don't want to pull stuff out of there with my hands, so a pair of pliers is useful. I also, last thing on here, well, one of the last things on here is a hard bristled brush. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to have pretty stiff bristles, because once I get that skin clean enough with the scraper, I want to really make sure I get it off. These are also extremely useful if the snake was euthanized or dispatched prior to it shedding its skin. This is really helpful at wiping along and getting the scales that are currently shedding off of the snake. I kept this snake alive for 4 or 5 days in a snake cage with proper humidity and heat and all that other happy stuff, with a rock and fresh water, just to keep it alive until it had shed its skin, made sure it was comfortable. And this one has freshly shed out, so the coloration on it is going to be significantly different from when you guys had seen it prior. I've also laid out a garbage bag that I have taped to the table, because I do not have a rattlesnake skinning specific table, but let's get into it. All right, so how to skin a rattlesnake. I've taken the rattlesnake, rolled it over onto its back. Most taxidermists that you talk to, and more specifically the way that we're planning on doing this, ask that you run the cut directly up the center of what are called the ventral scales of the snake. We're gonna start at the vent because the hard work is already started for us, and we're most likely going to finish at the head where things get pointy and venomous. So I'll show you how to take care of that in a safe way. But what you're gonna do first, I don't need the rattle to be on here right now. And whenever I cure the snake hide, I don't want the rattle on there. So I'm gonna take it off. So I wanna take this rattle off because I don't want it to be filled with our tanning solution. So you can pop this rattle off and pop it right back on without it damaging the actual rattle. So I can take my fingernail or any small tool, okay? And I'm gonna take this tool and I'm just gonna take it right along the side link here of the rattle and just lift that up ever so gently and over the edge. And you're just gonna keep working at this until the rattle itself pops off. So there we go. All right, so now that we got the rattle off, we got the snake laid out, we're gonna take our scissors, nice sharp scissors, and we're gonna start back here at the vent. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the vent and we're gonna cut to the tip of the tail. And that's where we're gonna start this off at. So I'm gonna come in here at the vent. I'm gonna have to give a little bit of a poke, a little bit of pressure, and there we go. So we wanna just keep an eye on it and make sure we're staying nice and centered. So we just keep going right down the center until we get to the rattle. I'm just gonna cut the last scale before the rattle, and then I'm gonna stop, turn it around just because this is easier for me to cut this way. And now I'm gonna repeat that process all the way up to the head. So we're gonna start at the vent. We're gonna slowly work our way up directly down the center. The sooner we can get out of the vent area, which is basically the rectum of the snake, the better. But for the first few cuts, you're gonna end up cutting into that. It's okay. But I can tell that now I'm out of it already because I can see that I've separated myself from it. All right, so we're at the head. We came all the way up nice and centered the whole way. And now we're at the head, and this is when things get kind of tricky because you're dealing with two hypodermic, well, at least two hypodermic needles. This one might have 4 or 5. They keep growing more and more. But they're hypodermic needles, and they're full of venom and other things that I don't want in my hands. So for this part, the scissors come in handy, the pliers come in handy, because what we're trying to get out are these. Those are not something that you want to be playing with. So what we need to do is we need to cut these out, and we need to dispose of them in a way that keeps everybody safe. So I want to take these and treat them like broken glass on steroids, because I want to make sure that these stay away from any wandering hands. I want to make sure the dog doesn't smell them and dig them up. I want to make sure that these go away and stay away for a very long time. So first things first, I want to get rid of the pointy parts. So scissors are all right for this. Pliers work well for this as well. So you can take pliers and pull them out. And there's one, at least the pointy part of one. And then to show on scissors as well, you can cut through them because they're so small. There you go. So now that one, that pointy part is over. But the problem then comes in, where underneath here, yep.
Oh, there's more.
There's always more. So this would have been the next fang in line. So that was the next fang in line, and oh, there's another one. So just because you get the one you saw out of there doesn't mean you're done yet. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna be very careful and work our way around the mouth with the scissors, removing all of the fangs and all of the pointy parts, and the venom glands will come out with it. The venom glands are gonna be stored behind the eye at this soft section here on both sides of the snake. There's a really soft, hollow feeling in there, and that's where the venom glands are located. And we're gonna take those out as well. All right, guys, so we got the head separated. All right, so a quick life hack. Any clamp, if you have a big clothespin or something to that extent, and a board, we're just gonna go ahead and clamp this on. So now that doesn't move on us. And then I take the skin and we just slowly go down the snake the whole way. We're just gonna go nice and gentle. If anything catches, then we'll get a knife. But until it catches, I don't really want to use the knife, just because it's really thin skin. It's very soft right now. So we're just going to keep working our way back. And if you notice, I'm grabbing the bottom of the skin to get it back first. So we're at the vent now. I can feel I have tension here where it doesn't want to go any further. We're going to flip it over. And we're going to start really taking our time with the scissors here. So we did the first 2 inches in 10 minutes. You do the last 2 inches in maybe 10 minutes. And everything in between takes about 15 seconds. All right, so we got the skin off. We were able to do it in a pretty clean way. There's still some spots that we want to get, especially along the ventral scales. The snakes have control of each and every individual ventral scale. So there is a muscle that attaches to every ventral scale, and no matter how hard you try to get it off when you're skinning them out, it's basically impossible to get all of the meat off. That's when a flat blade to scrape comes in handy, as well as a scraper itself comes in handy. All of this can be done post tanning. I just think you get a better end result when you scrape it before you tan it. Your tanning process also takes less time doing so. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to be scraping, hold the snake down and scrape with the grain of the snake to try and get all of this meat off. And this is a tedious process. We'll probably end up fast forwarding through a large majority of this. But you're just going to scrape this meat and all of this membrane off of the snake as best you can. And then what we're going to do is we're going to let this dry out a little bit. There's some of that meat and membrane here. We're going to let this dry out a little bit tonight, and then we're going to place it into a snake tanning solution. This is actually one from last year. You can use these over and over and over again, probably 3 or 4 times. But all it is a mixture of glycerin and rubbing alcohol. The glycerin keeps the hide nice and soft. The alcohol helps cure it so that you don't have to run into issues with rot or any mold or fungus or anything like that. It does a really great job. And then I typically finish these out with either a beeswax compound, beeswax mixed with coconut oil, or mink oil does a really good job on finishing the hide out and making sure it stays soft for a very long time. All right, so we just finished fleshing this out. We got about 90% of it off. That's what all these bits and pieces are here. It's pretty time consuming, but absolutely worth it to do it right the first time, because you don't get a second chance at this. The only thing left really is it's personal preference and to each their own. But what I like to do is, this is where the bottom jaw was. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this bottom jaw and taper it out to the edges so that it has the shape of the head, just because I think it looks more presentable and it looks nicer on the wall. So I like to pick a spot What I want to do, this is the inner carpenter in me. I want to make sure things are square and true. So I'm going to come to a point where it looks right.
Want me to hold it?
Yeah, go ahead. And then I'm going to want to start here and finish where that meets. So right there. So there's that side. I'm going to come around. I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. Right to where it meets the edge of that card. Just to keep things nice and square and symmetrical. So now, when that's hanging up there, we might taper that off a little bit more actually. So now we have the head of the rattlesnake on, and then if you pan on down, gorgeous pattern, lots of yellow, lots of green, good banding, fades to black, has a nice little rush stripe that I don't know if the camera's gonna pick up. You come all the way back, and then we got the rattle here that we're gonna put on back on after we put it in the solution. All right guys, so to wrap this up, we're just gonna take this snake skin that we've fleshed out. We're gonna drop it into our solution and I'm gonna shake it up. It's pretty self-explanatory. However, twice a day for the next 7 days, I'm gonna wanna make sure I keep shaking this up. So every morning when I leave for work, I give it a good shake. Every day I get home from work, I give it a good shake. This goes on for 7 days until finally I get a nice sunny day and I tack it out, and we'll bring you back in for another video on that one to have this thing tacked out, because Brett has elected to have this on a board in his home. We're gonna make this look really nice, and I got a little bit of a surprise for Brett that we're gonna unveil, hopefully, whenever we go to tack this out. So all you do, take the whole skin, drop it into the solution, make sure you get it all good and coated. So now, take our lid, and you want to avoid direct sunlight with this, and just keep it in an area where I know I have to walk past twice a day every day. But you keep this up for 7 days, give it a good old shake every once in a while, and in 7 days you'll have one heck of a good looking rattlesnake leather.
He will let myself know when it's done, and we will return. So we do hope you guys are enjoying these. This is all new to us, and thanks again, John, for really just opening our eyes to something new. And you know, we did a little bit of a Q&A when we, you know, harvested, or when we caught this snake originally, and just how our, you know, minds have changed. So we hope you enjoy these skinning videos. Like I said, we'll be back in 7 days, and we'll see what the finished product looks like.
All right, guys, so we're back with the snake. The cure is finished. The oiling is finished. Fleshing, all of that is done. I took a brush to the flesh side of this, and what that did was that got all of the membrane off. And now we've gotten this, once you have it to the point where all the membrane's off, at that point you can oil it if it's something that you'd like to do. You don't have to oil it. I like oiling it just because it brings the skin back to how it felt whenever the snake was still alive. If you don't oil it, you can get a tougher leather, but this way it has a little more stretch, a little more give, and it's less likely to crack. Now we're mounting it on a board, so it's not going to have much movement, but it's still nice when people run their hand across this to feel how soft these things really were at one point. I feel that if you don't put oil on them afterwards, they end up feeling like cardboard paper. And what I did to oil this was I used mink oil, and then you can add any essential oil or anything like that that you'd like the smell to go into, I believe. I haven't done too much experimenting with it. They can develop a little bit of a smell, not much. I've had one now for 5 or 6 years that has no smell whatsoever, and I can't say 100% that it's because I used vanilla in it, but it didn't hurt the skin. So I mixed up the mink oil with a little bit of vanilla and slather it on there real thick, really thick, and then I wrap mine around a wooden arrow nice and tight and let that sit somewhere where nobody's gonna mess with it for 3-4 days. Let that oil really soak in, peel it out, wipe it down, and you're ready to tack. And to tack it today, Brett has supplied a piece of driftwood that we've trimmed off to size. We also had gotten a surprise for Brett. So I had one of my buddies make this here. Just took a laser etcher and burned it into a piece of leather. And I had rough location, date, size, what species it is. And I also had them do a little piece of clip art here in the corner just to make it a little more interesting. I think it came out really nice. We may or may not oil this, I'm not sure. But we're gonna find a good place to put this as well. And all we gotta do now is start tacking this out. Once we tack it out, once you start tacking it out, you can't really stop. You just finish it out and call it a day. And we'll catch up with you guys once it's all finished. All right guys, so this is how it finished up. We got it all tacked out. Got it on the board. I feel like it came out pretty nice. We got the leather hanging here just by some wire. Brett's planning on hanging this as such. In what room did you say it was going in?
My big trophy room.
Should be in the trophy room between two big bucks.
Yep.
I figured as much. All right, so we're gonna have this go up in Brett's house. This is all finished. It should keep like this indefinitely, so long as you keep it out of direct sunlight and don't put it through any crazy temperatures. As long as it's staying in the house, you should be fine. Yeah, other than that, we're all set, and this is a wrapped up project. As you can see, we have these tiny little tacks in through here, just holding it in place. And as long as you don't try and overstretch it to turn it into something it's not, it shouldn't pull those tacks through at all. Feel like it came out pretty well.
No, yeah, thanks, John. I really appreciate it. For anyone who's new to snake hunting, he's definitely the guy to have you take you out, and he went above and beyond. What?
Join us on Keystone Rattlesnakes on Facebook, and if you're looking for more information or more people that are interested in this, it's a great place to start.
Thanks again for watching. This is a new type of video, so this is a good tutorial of how to take care of a snake when you do harvest one. So we hope you enjoy, and if you like these types of videos, please let us know in the comment section below. Be sure to leave a like on this and follow us on all our social media platforms. But
if you have any questions, by all means, throw them in the comments. I'll keep an eye on them and answer them as best as I possibly can. But other than that, till next time.